Welcome to Unbelievable Stories. Today's story is full of shocking twists and real drama. Subscribe and like to stay updated. Let's dive in.
My name is Jack, and I am from a damaged household. I was reared by a bossy mother and two controlling sisters. Anna was the eldest and 13 years my senior. Sarah was 8 years older. I suppose I was an unplanned child, and they all blamed my birth on my parents' split. My father left when I was 7 years old in 1982 and has never returned. I was bullied throughout my life, both at school and at home. All I needed was for my mother to show me love, a pat on the back, some recognition that I was a member of the family. It never occurred. I excelled in school, and after years of attempting to gain her attention, I focused only on my studies. Years passed, and in 2001, I enrolled at Westfield College in Westport. I was excited to be away from home. There I met Laura. Even today, I can envision her from back then. She was gorgeous and confident, while I was timid and introverted. She was in her last year of journalism school, and I was completing my master's degree in aeronautical engineering. I was too hesitant to approach her, so I was surprised when she interrupted a discussion I was having with a buddy at a party. Laura and I began dating, and, as painful as it is to say, she stole my virginity. But after around 8 months, I heard rumors that she was meeting other males. I was too terrified to face her. Laura was spoilt by her parents, and I had to put up with her entitled behavior for the majority of our relationship. She'd create a scene if things didn't go her way, even in public. My pals couldn't tolerate her, but I was in love. After graduation, we both got jobs and moved into a little apartment outside Harborview. Her family was from that region, and I had long lost contact with mine. We married a year later and had our daughter Lisa shortly after, followed by Sophie 2 years later. Laura enjoyed parenthood, and things appeared well between us for a time. I received multiple promotions and joined Iron Core Industries a decade ago. The additional wage enabled us to save for a nicer home, and we were able to purchase a spacious detached house in Harborview. In 2013, however, we, like so many others, suffered financial difficulties as a result of the economic slump. I discovered Laura was having an affair at this period while the daughters were in full-time school. The man was from her past, and she hardly attempted to disguise it. My closest buddy, Ryan, assumed it was a former college boyfriend who had lately relocated nearby. When I approached Laura, she laughed it off, but I knew she was lying. Nonetheless, I continued to work to support my family and eventually purchased a lovely 5-bedroom home in Harborview. One out-of-character choice I took was to create a savings account in my name alone and deposit my yearly bonuses. Laura probably had no idea it existed. It proved to be a wise decision, since our relationship remained turbulent. I spent quality time with my girls, bringing them to dancing lessons, concerts, and other events. Laura, on the other hand, was always preoccupied with coffee dates with her similarly pampered pals. I didn't spend much time socializing with the spouses, but they all looked to be controlled by their wives. My pals would make light of it by singing Under My Thumb by the Rolling Stones. At work, co-workers would make jokes about my marriage, highlighting Laura's power over me. A few months ago, when Sophie left for college, I found myself alone with Laura for the first time in over 2 decades. Both children went to our alma mater, and after helping Sophie settle in, she astonished me by questioning why I was even with her mother. She had heard whispers about Laura's newest romance, this time with David Hale, a co-worker of mine. Hearing my daughter's displeasure in me was terrible. I realized that I needed to address Laura. Sitting at the kitchen table, I eventually asked her whether she was having an affair. She accepted it but brushed it off, claiming it was just physical and not emotional. The sheer boldness astounded me. I was astonished as she stated that all of her friends were doing the same thing, saying it strengthened their relationships. I was unwell. I began to distance myself emotionally, and it was evident Laura didn't care. I didn't get out with her friends and was criticized at work by Connor and his pals, particularly because he was the nephew of my employer, Martin Hale. I quickly became tired of the ridicule and Laura's actions. I made arrangements to leave, creating new accounts, canceling our joint ones, and cashing out the money I had accumulated. My new company, FutureBuild Systems, was thrilled to have me start. After moving out, I met my father's relatives for the first time. I was introduced to my cousin Lisa and her husband Brian, who greeted me warmly. Knowing that I had individuals who really cared about me improved my spirits. I felt it was time to take back my life, particularly for my girls. When I returned, Laura was ready to go on with her new partner. However, she became enraged when she learned the financial ramifications of our breakup. I refused to give in to her demands and instead offered her a settlement. She vowed to challenge me in court, but eventually agreed to the conditions. I got an apartment near to my children and began again, concentrating on work and my connection with them. Over the following 2 weeks, I adjusted to my new existence. I cut relations with Connor and Gordon, submitting my resignation and leaving with my head held high. Despite Laura's efforts to undermine me, I was ultimately able to reconstruct my life without her power over me. With the settlement completed and my girls at my side, I felt a feeling of calm that I hadn't had in years. The notion that I had been through so much just to emerge stronger was inspiring. As the weeks passed, my new existence became more grounded and gratifying than anything I had known in the previous 2 decades. My kids, Lisa and Sophie, came over often, and we began to establish a friendship built on true understanding and trust. For years, I'd been the dependable provider and peacekeeper, striving to keep things in order, but suddenly I felt free to be present and true to myself. It felt freeing. I eagerly embraced my new position at FutureBuild Systems. I immersed myself in the initiatives, particularly those that were novel and demanding. My colleagues valued my expertise, and the workplace atmosphere was one of mutual respect, in sharp contrast to the hostile climate at Iron Core Industries. My new employer, James Parker, respected my ideas, and I quickly adopted techniques that had a significant effect. The freedom to be appreciated and the trust bestowed upon me inspired me to strive even more. I was acknowledged, and for the first time in a long time, I felt like I was contributing to something significant. One day, my cousin Lisa asked me to a family event. I was apprehensive at first since integrating into a family I had never met seemed daunting. But when I arrived to her house in Durham, surrounded by the warmth of family members I'd just recently met, I felt an unexpected feeling of home. They weren't critical or invasive, but they were really curious about who I was and how my life had gone. Lisa had introduced me to additional relatives, each of whom told me tales about my father, allowing me to fill in the blanks that had troubled me since I was a youngster. Hearing about the guy he was and that I wasn't alone in feeling abandoned gave me a sense of closure. During one of those trips, my father's sister, Mary, handed me a tiny package. It included images, letters, and a notebook that my father had maintained. In his own words, I read about his challenges, regrets, and dreams for a connection with me. The agony of his absence faded, replaced with a better awareness of his own struggles and the limitations had endured. I forgave him, and in a sense, I forgave myself for harboring animosity for so many years. The alteration I felt started to spread to other aspects of my life. With a broader perspective, I eventually sat down with Lisa and Sophie to share experiences from my history and speak up about my marital troubles. They were old enough to comprehend, and in many ways, they had already felt the reality. Sophie particularly took it to heart, her customary calm manner giving way to a new resolve. Lisa, with her ever-inquisitive mind, inquired if I would ever remarry. I smiled, dismissing the concept, but deep down, I knew my heart was more open than it had been in years. One day, at a community function, I bumped into Claire, a lady I knew from Westfield College. She was studying architecture at the time, and I recall her as being kind, motivated, and clever. We hadn't spoken in a while, but our quick discussion rekindled our friendship. We began meeting for coffee on occasion, discussing topics ranging from work changes to managing life after divorce. Unlike Laura, Claire was grounded and authentic. Her brightness and kindness were refreshing, and I looked forward to our chats. After some time, I introduced her to Lisa and Sophie, and we spent the day in a local botanical park. Seeing my girls laugh and talk effortlessly with Claire was natural, and she quickly became a vital part of our life. With each passing day, my new existence seemed more like a real expression of who I was. I no longer felt bound by previous regrets or errors that had held me back. I was free to rebuild in a manner that honored both my personal needs and the family I loved. Looking back, I could not have predicted how things would play out. My path had been tough, but it had brought me to a place of calm and sincerity. Finally, I was living for myself, with the support of friends, family, and loved ones. Life, with all of its problems, had given me a second opportunity, and I was determined to take use of it. My bond with Claire deepened over time. What started as informal coffee gatherings evolved into frequent meals, weekend vacations, and a trusting and open relationship. She respected my path, my limits, and my role as a parent. It was pleasant to be with someone who didn't demand me to change and instead encouraged me to be my genuine self. My kids, Lisa and Sophie, became used to seeing Claire around and, as time passed, formed their own bonds with her. Sophie, with her calm intellect, often questioned Claire about architecture and design, and she became a type of mentor to her. Lisa, the social butterfly, adored having Claire over for family board game evenings when our laughing filled the flat, a comforting reminder of the life we were all creating together. My job at FutureBuild Systems evolved over time. The initiatives we embarked on were ambitious, but with a supportive team, we reached key milestones that improved the company's position in the industry. My supervisor, James Parker, finally hired me as a consultant and allowed me to work from home part-time. This flexibility made it easy to attend Sophie's college festivities and assist Lisa throughout her senior year of high school. It also allowed me to organize more excursions with Claire, allowing us both time to pursue our hobbies and dream about the future. One of my fondest moments was when Sophie chose to study architecture in college, partially inspired by Claire. She was captivated by the idea of combining art and science to create settings where people may live and prosper. I went to her first major presentation, sitting quietly in the back of the lecture hall, beaming with pride as she boldly discussed her plans. Lisa, on the other hand, had a strong desire to make a difference in her community and was considering pursuing social work. Watching kids follow their talents made me grateful, knowing that, despite our background, we had all found resilience and purpose. Then, on a bright fall day, I got an unexpected letter in the mail. It was from Laura. She had gone through some terrible times since our split, and the letter was a real apology, full of regret and thoughts on her own faults. She apologized for the pain she had caused, recognized her own involvement in our marriage's demise, and thanked me for the time we had spent together, particularly for the girls we had nurtured. It was a bittersweet time to read her remarks and realize how much we had both matured in our own ways. The apology did not alter the past, but it did provide a final sense of closure and comfort in knowing we had both gone on. Claire and I discussed Laura's letter over dinner that evening. She listened closely, her eyes full of empathy. When I finished, she reached across the table and placed her hand on mine. "I think you both deserve peace," she murmured softly, and I agreed, finally feeling a weight lift that I had forgotten I was carrying. A year later, Lisa graduated from high school with honors, and we celebrated with a family vacation to Wales, a destination she had long wanted to see. Exploring the Highlands, exchanging tales around the fire, and climbing together seemed like the perfect way to end a chapter of development and healing. Back home, my friendship with Claire continued to grow. I found myself thinking about a future with her, something I hadn't done in years. I eventually proposed in a peaceful, personal setting during a picnic in the countryside, surrounded by wildflowers and golden sunshine. Her response was an emotional yes, and we started preparing a modest wedding for only family and close friends, including Lisa and Sophie, who were overjoyed. Our wedding day was modest yet full of love. Lisa offered a poignant toast, and Sophie presented us with a sketch of our combined family beneath a tree flag. As I glanced around the small group of friends and family, I realized that this road of heartache, self-discovery, and repentance had finally led me to a sense of genuine belonging and contentment. In the years that followed, Claire and I built a life founded on love and mutual respect. I stayed close to Lisa and Sophie, making time for family meals, holiday festivities, and ordinary talks that mattered. Claire and I even accepted a rescue puppy, Rex, into our house, as a gentle reminder that life often provides us second chances, sometimes in the most unexpected ways. Looking back, I viewed my life as a tapestry of trials, triumphs, and lessons learnt. Each thread of my history had strengthened me, bringing me to this chapter full of love, purpose, and a family I adore. And as we moved on, I realized that this life, founded on resilience and healing, was one I could always claim as my own. The seasons transformed our life in subtle, lovely ways. Lisa began university with excitement, immersing herself in social work and volunteering, whilst Sophie became passionately involved in her architectural studies, often coming over to show us her newest drawings and sketches. She'd speak animatedly about the process, her eyes lighting up as she detailed how each line, structure, and detail might affect people's lives. Claire and I settled into our married life with a comfortable rhythm. We took Rex, our faithful rescue dog, on lengthy excursions and Sunday morning walks around the local wildlife reserve. These times seemed like grounding rituals, silent yet full of satisfaction. Our house became a meeting place for family and friends. Lisa and her husband Brian, along with a few others from Westec, would swing over for dinner parties, filling our room with laughing, tales, and occasionally competitive rounds of board games that seemed to go until late at night. James Parker, my employer at FutureBuild Systems, became a close confidant and would sometimes join us for these events. He was a constant presence in my professional life, and as we collaborated to move the firm ahead, I discovered that I was not only prospering in my career but also teaching younger engineers, passing on the knowledge I'd gained. One day, Sophie invited me to her university's open criticism session for her architectural studio. Watching her take critical comments with grace and drive made me proud. I could see how much Claire's mentoring had impacted her, and it reminded me how fortunate I am to have Claire in my life. Following the session, we treated Sophie to a celebration meal. She expressed her gratitude for having us as a support system and discussed her aspirations of building sustainable housing communities. Her desire to have a direct effect on people's lives demonstrated her thoughtful and sympathetic personality. Meanwhile, Lisa was thriving in her studies and had started an internship with a local nonprofit organization that provides family support services. She dedicated many hours to assisting needy families, pushing for resources, and organizing neighborhood activities. It astounded me to see how thoroughly she embraced the qualities she'd grown up with: empathy, generosity, and resilience. She had turned our family's hardships into a source of strength, motivating everyone around her. Claire and I celebrated each of these milestones with quiet pride, knowing that our family's journey had brought us all to this point of purpose and belonging. Our life together was modest but incredibly satisfying. I felt satisfied in ways that had previously seemed elusive: a feeling of balance, love, and a household full of laughter and brightness. On our third wedding anniversary, Claire surprised me with a vacation to Devonshire, a destination we'd always wanted to visit together. We spent the days roaming along the cliffs, enjoying the ocean's vastness and discussing our future plans. The simplicity of it was almost magical. Two individuals who had survived life's storms now stood side by side, hopeful for the future. Our girls grew and thrived throughout the years. Sophie secured a job with a major design company where she advocated for sustainable construction projects, while Lisa started working as a counselor, helping families through tough times and giving them with the assistance they needed to reconstruct their lives. Watching them both chase their aspirations with compassion and determination reminded me how far we'd come. Looking back, I was frequently amazed at how much life had changed. My world had formerly seemed limited and weighed down by uncertainty, but today it seems vast, full of love, laughter, and purpose. Each difficulty, each step forward had led to this, a meaningful existence, a family united not just by blood but also by decision and perseverance. In the quiet times, when Claire, Rex, and I sat by the fire or went for one of our many long walks, I reflected on the road that had brought us here. The guy I used to be, unsure, hungry for approval, had evolved into someone who had finally achieved serenity, strength, and a firm sense of self. And every time I looked at Claire, Lisa, and Sophie, I was reminded that life's greatest blessings are frequently given not in spite of but because of our difficulties. I had discovered happiness, rebuilt my family, and made a completely unique existence for myself. And I knew that with each stride we took together, we were just getting started on the glorious trip that lay ahead of us. Years passed and our family expanded in unforeseen ways. Lisa got engaged to a caring, down-to-earth guy called Kevin, whom she met while volunteering. Kevin shared her dedication to assisting others, and they formed an effective team. Their wedding was modest but lovely, taking place in a sunny courtyard surrounded by close relatives and friends. I was filled with pride as I saw Lisa go down the aisle, exuding delight. Claire clasped my hand, her grin mirroring mine own. In that moment, I felt the richness of a fulfilled existence, surrounded by love and connection. Sophie was also prospering, making progress in her architectural profession. She had lately joined a project to develop eco-friendly communal homes, combining her technical expertise with her commitment to sustainability. We spent hours discussing her work. She would bring over drawings and plans, eagerly demonstrating how each part of the design might benefit the people who would live there. It was inspirational to see her so involved in her job and dedicated to leaving a significant legacy. Our house became the center of family gatherings. Sunday meals, holiday feasts, and unexpected visitors filled our room with laughter and love. Lisa and Kevin came over often, sometimes with their new dog, Ace, who immediately became Rex's greatest buddy. The two dogs would gallop around the yard, their happy barking adding to the festive mood. Sophie would often bring friends and co-workers, broadening our network even more. Our once fractured family has become alive and united. During one of these family meals, Claire presented an idea she'd been thinking about for a while. "I've been thinking," she continued, her eyes twinkling with enthusiasm. "How would you feel about starting a scholarship fund?" The notion was excellent. We were both deeply committed to giving back, and with our girls thriving in professions with a positive effect, it seemed only logical to extend that support to others. We named the award in honor of my father, as a testament to the resilience he instilled in me, although indirectly. It was a means to transform our family's history into a source of hope for students in need, particularly those studying social work, architecture, and engineering. The scholarship fund turned into a labor of love. Lisa and Sophie were actively engaged in interviewing applicants and selecting recipients. Their thoughts were vital and they attacked the project with the same zeal they had for their jobs. Over the years, we observed as scholarship winners made their own contributions to the world. It was both humbling and rewarding to see how a simple notion had grown into something that affected so many people's lives. As Lisa and Kevin settled into their marriage, they had a daughter, Leah, who immediately became the light of our lives. She had Lisa's vivacious energy and Kevin's compassionate nature, and she brought pleasure into our household. I loved being a grandpa, spending hours with Leah reading stories, creating thoughts, and seeing the world through her inquisitive eyes. Sophie, now Aunt Em, was similarly enthralled, often bringing Leah to parks or museums, feeding her interest with each visit. One peaceful evening, as Claire and I sat together, thinking on our adventure, I was overcome with appreciation. We'd been through so much together, the challenges, changes, and progress. Our family had been transformed and strengthened, with each adversity serving as a building block for perseverance and love. There were still problems as life proceeded on its uncertain path. But now I met them with the fortitude and tranquility that I had not experienced in my earlier years. I had a family who supported me, a spouse who shared my aspirations, and a legacy that would live on in the lives we had affected. As I gazed out over the yard, where Leah played with Rex and Ace, Sophie joked with friends, and Lisa and Kevin spent a peaceful time together, I realized that this was the life I had always wanted. Not one of material prosperity or rank, but of love, connection, and purpose, a life filled with everything that actually mattered. As the sun slipped below the horizon, throwing a warm light over the life we had created, I felt an unshakable feeling of calm. This was my legacy, our legacy, and it would go on long after I was gone, affecting the lives of people we loved and others we had yet to meet. The road had been worthwhile, and as I held Claire's hand, I knew we'd keep walking it together, side by side, for as long as life permitted. Our family's relationships got stronger over time. Leah grew from an inquisitive toddler to a vibrant little girl full of energy and curiosity. She enjoyed visiting our house, where we baked cookies, painted, and built castles in the garden. I treasured every moment, knowing that these little rituals would live on in her memory, just as they had in mine. Lisa and Kevin raised Leah with the same dedication to compassion and community that distinguished their love. They encouraged her to travel the globe, ask questions, and appreciate other people's experiences. Leah enjoyed hearing my stories from the past, her eyes wide as I related recollections of family gatherings, holidays, and the lessons life had taught me. She'd often ask me to tell one more story at bedtime, and I'd gladly comply, pleased to see a piece of my travels mirrored in her developing grasp of the world. Meanwhile, Sophie had established herself as a prominent figure in the field of sustainable design. Her work had attracted notice, and she went often to conferences to share her unique ideas with architects and engineers throughout the globe. She was making a difference, and I could not have been more pleased. Every time she went home, she'd bring tales about her travels, friends she'd met, places she'd seen, and initiatives that were reshaping cities. She exuded boldness and purpose, which made me proud and admirable. With the scholarship fund growing, Claire and I decided to broaden its reach by offering mentoring opportunities to beneficiaries, with Lisa, Sophie, and even Claire assisting students in their respective disciplines. Watching Claire assist these young brains develop and navigate their futures was inspirational. She was a kind and compassionate tutor, and the pupils loved her. One summer, our family went on a week-long excursion to the Lake District. We leased a cottage near the sea, surrounded by mountains and wildflower meadows. We spent days hiking, fishing, cooking, and playing by the lake. Leah, aged 8, was brave, climbing trees and skipping stones with glee, reminding me of my own youth. One evening, as the sun set behind the mountains, Lisa and Sophie staged a little family ceremony. They had prepared speeches, shocking Claire and me with passionate comments about the influence we had made on their lives. Sophie, who was usually collected, battled to fight back tears as she talked about the foundation we had formed as a family and how it had molded her resilience and compassion. Lisa explained, with her natural warmth, how our family's love and tenacity inspire her every day. They were both grateful for how Claire had brought serenity, joy, and insight into our lives, allowing us all to develop and heal. Overwhelmed with emotion, Claire and I hugged one another, our hearts full of thanks and pride for the life we'd built together. In that moment, under a starry sky, I saw the deep beauty of life's journey, how every difficulty and delight had led to this, a family united not by perfection, but by love, respect, and a shared commitment to one another. That night, when I sat beside the lake, I had a profound feeling of calm. This life we had created, this family we had raised, was my genuine legacy. It was a history of tenacity, progress, and love that had survived every storm and emerged stronger. As I watched Leah chase fireflies with her parents and aunt nearby, I knew the future was bright, based on the strength and ideals we had all built together. In the years that followed, I welcomed each day with a calm delight, appreciating the laughter, lessons, and simple moments that enriched our life. And while Claire and I proceeded on our trip together, I felt truly grateful for the history that had led us here, as well as the lovely future we had just started to anticipate. As life progressed in these latter years, we discovered a rhythm that was both consistent and ever-changing. Our family tie became deeper and expanded in amazing, unexpected ways. Lisa and Kevin made a crucial choice to establish a community center in Harbour View, focusing on family support services, counseling, and after-school activities. The facility provided a safe refuge for many children and families, providing a space where individuals felt noticed and supported. Watching Lisa pour her passion into her work and watching the community's reaction reminded me of how our family's path had encouraged others to live meaningful lives. Every time Leah visited the center, she saw her mother work with tangible pride. She started talking about helping people just like Mom as she got older. Sophie, a well-known sustainable design expert, was likewise inspired to develop something more personal and long-lasting. She and her business had been working on a housing project aimed at creating inexpensive, environmentally friendly communities, and she suggested constructing a prototype near Harbour View. She planned to incorporate seminars on renewable energy, gardening, and sustainable living techniques. I was impressed by my daughter's ability to create and carry out such a large project. She had applied the ideas she had learnt as a kid to her professional life, establishing environments that promoted community and resilience. Meanwhile, Claire and I relished the gentler pace. We periodically helped at the community center, teaching youngsters, assisting with reading programs, and sharing our own experiences. Watching the kids' cheeks light up as we spoke about our life and answered their interested questions reminded me of my younger self, who was looking for connection and understanding. Every contact seemed significant, reminding me of the power of small gestures and their potential influence on young lives. On weekends, we'd throw events in our yard, complete with laughing, food, and family. Leah, now approaching a teenager, had developed an interest in architecture, which delighted Sophie. She would sit with her aunt, eager to learn how to sketch floor plans and ask insightful questions about design and sustainability. Our devoted dogs, Rex and Ace, would recline in the sun, looking over everyone and providing a calming presence against the background of our family's progress. One winter, Claire and I arranged a much-needed getaway in Spain. We'd always wanted to explore the peaceful villages and picturesque landscapes of Tuscany, immersing ourselves in the art, gastronomy, and history. Wandering the cobblestone alleyways, visiting wineries, and telling tales by candlelight made us feel like newlyweds all over again. It was a journey full with memories we'd love for the rest of our lives, demonstrating the delight of embarking on new experiences even after all we'd previously experienced. Returning from Spain, I discovered a feeling of rebirth in my everyday life. I began writing my own story, a memoir to document my trip, the lessons I'd learned, and the love I'd discovered along the way. With Lisa and Sophie encouraging me, I worked on it gradually, sitting at my desk every morning with a cup of tea and contemplating the experiences that had molded me. Writing was therapeutic, allowing me to realize the importance of each phase of my life, from my terrible beginnings to the amazing family that now surrounds me. My memoir was eventually written, and with the help of Claire and the daughters, I self-published it. To my astonishment, it struck a chord with others who read it, who found aspects of their own life mirrored in the pages. I started getting emails from people thanking me for sharing my story and finding inspiration in the perseverance, forgiveness, and love that had characterized my life. These letters gave me a feeling of connectedness that extended beyond my family, unexpectedly enlarging my legacy. Our family continued to celebrate one another's accomplishments throughout the years, including Leah's high school graduation, Sophie's growth of her housing project, and Lisa and Kevin's continual work at the community center. Each accomplishment served as a reminder of the principles we had established together, as well as the unchanging strength that had seen us through every struggle. And throughout it all, Claire remained my anchor, a consistent companion in a life we'd both come to value greatly. Our love had grown deeper with time, founded in the realization that we had weathered life's storms together, emerging stronger and more appreciative. In those last, calm years, as we sat on our porch, watching the sun set over the lives we had fashioned and loved, I realized that our path had been really wonderful. This life, with all of its complexity, achievements, and moments of transition, had turned out to be more lovely than I had expected. And when Claire lay her head on my shoulder, hand in hand, I felt the deep, profound calm that comes from living a life well, a legacy of love, resilience, and family that will live on in the hearts of those we've touched long after we're gone. Claire and I settled into our twilight years, and each day seemed like a gift wrapped in soft, familiar rituals and calm delight. Life had slowed down in all the greatest ways, allowing us to enjoy the life we had created piece by piece. We often found ourselves reliving old memories and treasured times, thankful for the family and legacy we had built together. Our girls remained the pulse of our life. Lisa and Kevin developed their community center by forming connections with other groups, allowing them to provide additional mental health, job preparedness, and artistic activities for children and young people. Leah was often there, offering her time between sessions, and it was a pleasure to witness her grow in engagement and compassion. She had grown into a young lady who reflected all of our values, including strength, empathy, and a strong desire to serve others. She had even begun studying social work, motivated by her mother and the influence of the community center. Sophie, now a major advocate in sustainable design, has continued her ambitious work on affordable housing. She had embarked on a large initiative with her firm to create full eco-friendly communities in different locations. Her job gave her immense joy, and her effect extended well beyond our family. We could sense her enthusiasm not just in her creations, but also in the way she interacted with others, colleagues, community members, and residents. Her vision was changing people's lives in ways I couldn't have predicted, and it made me proud to know how much she was giving to a world that needed intelligent, devoted individuals like her. Our family meetings, albeit less frequent than they once were, remained a treasured tradition. Every holiday, birthday, and Sunday supper became an expression of love and thanks. Our home was often filled with laughter, as Rex and Ace enthusiastically made their rounds, loving the company as much as we did. Leah would offer anecdotes from her studies, while Sophie and Lisa would provide updates on their current initiatives. These meetings were my favorite times, modest but immensely valuable, reminding me of how deeply ingrained our family had become. One winter evening, while Claire and I sat by the fire, we decided to go on one last voyage together. We'd always wanted to visit Germany, and now seemed like the right moment. The vacation was everything we had hoped for: quiet, culturally interesting, and full of experiences that left us both in amazement. We strolled through serene temples, marveled at the gardens, and cherished each moment with the deep appreciation that only comes with age and life's tribulations. The event seemed like a climax, a voyage of appreciation for all we had shared and conquered. Returning home, life resumed its peaceful pace. I continued to work with the scholarship fund, ensuring that it would be viable for future generations. We extended the curriculum to include internships, encouraging students to seek mentoring and assistance that would help shape their own careers. The scholarship fund, which began as a tiny project, now supports dozens of students each year, leaving a legacy that I felt would last. In my calmer times, I found myself rereading the memoir I had previously written. Letters continued to come from readers who had been moved by my tale, thanking me for sharing my path of perseverance, healing, and development. Knowing that my experiences may inspire others gave me a deep feeling of joy. In our last years, Claire and I focused on our interests, family, and each other. I felt immensely privileged to have had such a full life, filled with both pain and mercy. I'd become a parent, grandpa, spouse, and friend. And, with Claire, I had created a legacy of love and perseverance that would endure in the lives of our girls and others we had affected along the way. As aging took its inevitable toll, I felt my strength decrease. The home, which had previously been busy with activity, became quieter, yet it was still full of warmth, love, and memories. In my dying days, surrounded by family, I felt a profound serenity. I knew I had lived completely, loved sincerely, and left a legacy built on compassion, courage, and integrity. As I closed my eyes, Claire's hand in mine and my girls at my side, I felt the reassuring presence of a life spent well. I went off to sleep knowing that my trip had come to an end, leaving a legacy that would live on in people I loved, the community we had built, and the hearts of everyone I had touched along the way. Following my death, my family continued to celebrate our heritage, each in their own unique manner. Claire embraced the position of family matriarch with elegance and tenacity, leading and supporting our girls through every stage of their lives. Our house remained the center of our family, full with memories, laughter, and love. The portrait of us together, me, Claire, Lisa, and Sophie, with Leah as a child, remained a focal point in the home, a subtle reminder of the trip we had all taken. Lisa, Kevin, and Leah were increasingly active with the community center, helping to expand its programs and welcome additional families in need. In my memory, they established new projects, including mental health and family counseling programs, which Lisa had a love for. Leah, inspired by both her parents and my own experiences, became a certified counselor, working directly with the families that came to the center for assistance and support. Watching her enter into a position with such significant importance filled Claire's heart with pride. Leah carried on the legacy of resilience and kindness which impacted innumerable lives. Sophie, ever ambitious and determined, continued her work on sustainable architecture. Her initiatives grew globally, and her company became recognized for creating creative, eco-friendly communities that brought people together while also protecting the environment. In her quiet times, she would often tell Claire tales about the families and communities touched by her job, understanding that this was how she could uphold the principles her father had instilled. She kept close to her family, going home often to reminisce with Leah about the tales I'd told them and the lessons they'd learned. The scholarship fund also increased as Claire and my kids worked to ensure that it continued to reach students who might otherwise struggle to achieve their aspirations. One of the newest initiatives is called the Jack Fund, and it is especially geared to help people interested in engineering, counseling, or sustainable design. This curriculum attracted young, motivated students who wanted to make a difference in the world. Over the years, several of these students wrote to Claire and my kids to express their thanks and the influence the scholarship had on their lives. These letters became cherished family mementos, representing how our family's history spread forth. Each Christmas season, Claire entertained the family at our house, adorning it with the same delight we had always enjoyed. She kept our traditions alive, such as Sunday meals and storytelling sessions, which Leah still enjoyed. My absence was felt, but my presence was woven into the fabric of our family's life, my tales, laughter, and the ideals that had guided me through each step. Years later, Leah became a mother herself, welcoming a girl she named Lydia after my mother, which moved Claire greatly. Watching Leah with her kid, experiencing the same warmth and affection handed down through generations, demonstrated the power of our family. The same virtues of kindness, resilience, and compassion that had guided us were now being passed on to the next generation, assuring the legacy's continuation. In the end, I left more than just memories. I built a foundation of love, resilience, and purpose for my family to carry on for generations. My tale lived on in the lives of individuals I cared about, the communities we impacted, and the hearts of the students who found hope via our scholarship. This was the legacy we had created together, and it would continue to spread around the globe like the roots of a well-established tree. And, even though I was no longer physically there, I remained a gentle presence in every moment of love, generosity, and family reunion. In this manner, my soul lived on, woven into the fabric of our family's lives, a lasting legacy of love, perseverance, and hope. As the years passed, Lydia grew up in a family whose relationships had been strengthened by centuries of love, tenacity, and purpose. She was a bright and inquisitive youngster, much like her mother, Leah. Claire transformed into her beloved Nana, spending their time together with the same tales and advice she had previously given with Lisa and Sophie, keeping my memory alive with each story and loving word. Lydia liked such tales, and she would often sit wide-eyed, listening carefully as her Nana told stories about Grandpa Jack and the family's adventure. Leah, now rearing Lydia with the same compassion and integrity she'd acquired from her mother, father, and grandparents, found herself relying on the principles our family had always held dear. She taught Lydia about compassion, understanding, and resilience, as well as how our family had always persevered throughout terrible times. She would show images, share anecdotes about her own youth, and remind her daughter of the history she was a part of. Our house remained the family's principal meeting spot. Every Christmas season, Claire would decorate it like we usually did, with lights, decorations, and framed family portraits on the fireplace. These festivals evolved into occasions of recollection, with the family gathering to respect the past and celebrate the future. At each meeting, Lisa and Sophie would find a quiet time to share a reminiscence, often surprise Leah and Lydia with tales they had not heard before. Our legacy was most deeply felt during these meetings, at these shared moments of laughter and thought. Meanwhile, Lisa and Kevin have enlarged their community center even more. They established a mentoring program, linking young people with counselors and life coaches to assist them find direction and support as they face life's problems. They titled the program The Jack Way, after the teachings I taught Lisa and her siblings about perseverance, ethics, and constantly boosting people up. It became a guiding beacon in their community, demonstrating the strength of family and compassion. Young people who took part in the program often praised it, with assisting them in finding their path, leaving a legacy of empowerment that beyond my wildest expectations. Sophie's work also advanced to new heights. She had committed herself to an international initiative aimed at creating sustainable communities in disadvantaged places. She devoted time in areas that needed it the most, constructing schools, residences, and community spaces that recognized local customs while also respecting the environment. Her efforts not only earned her professional respect, but also had a significant influence on the lives of numerous families. She realized that every design she made, every project she assisted in bringing to life, reflected some of the love, tenacity, and determination she had learnt from her family members. Claire remained a constant and cornerstone of the family, mentoring each new generation with elegance, knowledge, and unflinching love. In her latter years, she became a well-known person in our town, mentoring young parents and delivering seminars at the community center where she offered her knowledge of family, love, and perseverance. Her comments were valuable lessons not just for our family, but for everybody who had the opportunity to hear her speak. As Lydia got older, she became more interested in her family history and the tales that had molded her mother, grandmother, and aunts. She began compiling these experiences and writing them down in a diary, which she dubbed The Story of Us. She'd invite Claire, Lisa, Sophie, and Leah to share their experiences, adding their voices to a tradition that had lasted centuries. It was her way of commemorating our family's journey, remembering the love and fortitude that had led us, and ensuring that these memories were handed down to future generations. One day, Claire sat down with Lydia, her hands softly resting on her granddaughter's, and said, "Your grandfather Jack would be very pleased of the lady you're becoming. He loved this family with all he had, and that love lives on in you." Lydia's eyes welled up with tears as she embraced her nana, feeling the weight of the legacy she had contributed to and the love that will always surround her. Our family heritage continues to spread via the efforts of each family member, the Scholarship Fund, the Community Center, and Lydia's Story of Us, touching lives, elevating others, and respecting the ideals that defined us. In this manner, we carried on a history of generosity, resilience, and unlimited love, a heritage that began long ago and would go on for decades, in the hearts of those who remembered, in the tales that would never fade, and in the lives touched by each member of our family. And, although I was no longer physically there, I was present in every tale, gathering, and moment of love and pleasure. I had become a part of the foundation, eternally sewn into the fabric of our family, a constant presence in their lives, guiding them from afar, a loving legacy that would never really cease. Thanks for watching. What makes a lasting legacy? Share your thoughts below, and don't forget to like and subscribe.